Welcome everybody to Tectonic Takes. This is a special episode. Finally, me and Ivan are back together. You can see the smile on his face and the smile on my face. So we're actually really excited to talk about this Quakes team. Ivan, what's up? How you doing?
Well, some parts of the Quakes team do excite us. Others worry us, but we're excited for different reasons. So this is episode 51. So due to my numbering count, I didn't get a chance to celebrate our 50th episode milestone last time when we discussed the Colorado Rapids game, but we're going to do that now. And we just want to thank you, the fans, the listeners, and everyone in the Quakes community who has embraced us as part of it. From the active hosts, Favi and myself, Will when he's available, Anthony at Tectonic Yanks, Fala Shede, who's provided a lot of graphics, our writing team, Chris, Matt, and Abel, who has appeared in a few podcasts as well when Favi wasn't available. We all thank you for helping us reach 50 numbered episodes, as well as all of our other content on YouTube and other social media. We are really appreciative. And a year ago, I didn't expect that the podcast would have grown at this rate. And we now have a community on Discord. We're active through Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like everywhere. We've been well received and people have interacted. And it's been a pleasure.
Ivan, when you started this a year ago, did you ever think that you would be here? Right, 51, right? And just the sheer amount of social media presence that we have, right? Did you expect that? Like, did you expect that, a lot of Quakes fans would be waiting for our tweets and thinking that we would have Quakes news? I never would have thought that.
Right. I wasn't expecting that at all. I didn't really know what to expect other than it was during the pandemic. I wanted to contribute something, and part of it was my desire to support the Quakes and my passion for the Quakes and my passion for the sport in general. But part of it as well was like something to look forward to while hoping that things would get better in my life as well. And in a way, things certainly had. We're still recovering from a pandemic. It's still very much existing, but we're doing the best we can. We also have a few messages specifically from some of our other co-hosts and members of Tectonic Takes team who couldn't be here today. Will gave us a message. He just wanted to thank the fans. I wish I was able to be more interactive lately, but I'm still supporting from afar and honored to be a part of this podcast. And Will has definitely been a contributor. I know he's been very busy during much of this 2021 season, but you and Will were friends from before this podcast. So you can definitely attest to how much he's been a part of this.
Yeah, and I'm glad Will's not here so he can tell me that he wants Matías Almeida out, But no, we definitely miss Will. It's been different with him not around, but we're looking forward to him coming back soon. He's on a personal note, he's getting his college degree finished, so he's a little busy on that side. And that's, at the end of the day, it's important, right? So definitely we wish him the best. It's always good to finish your degree. I still have to finish mine too, so maybe I take a little break too. But next up, we have Abel's message. Abel's a newer side of us, but he says he looks forward to being a part of the group for 50 more episodes and more. I'm glad that I can be a part of this group while at the same time getting experience for my journalistic career. Finding Tectonic Takes was one of the best things to happen. Wow. Yeesh. Gonna make me cry. Thank you, Ivan and Favi and the rest of the group. Very proud of you guys because you built this from the ground up. Ivan, again, I gotta thank you, man. I remember asking you that message, like, hey, can I be a part of this? And after that, the rest is history. So thank you so much.
Right. And in a way that this shouldn't have worked, because at least geographically, we've been like ships passing through the night. I started this while I was in San Diego and you were in Redwood City.
Right.
And then you were expecting a child and you had already made plans with your wife, Mary, that
Yeah.
you guys were going to move to Japan.
Right.
And then as soon as you move away this year, essentially, I moved back to the Bay Area in Livermore. So
Right.
It's been very interesting. And we managed to make it work with these time zones. Thanks to you for giving me months of practice ahead of the Tokyo Olympics to master the time zone.
Right. No, exactly. And the funniest thing about this is everybody was meeting you for the first time at the Quakes game, right? And I'm like, I'm sitting here like,
or 2
damn.
days ago, as we're recording on the Monday, 2 days after the Dynamo game.
And I'm just sitting here like, damn, I still haven't met Ivan. So, but no, it's been a great ride. I mean, it's been a fun time. Like you said, I started in Redwood City. You started in San Diego. I'm in Japan. You're in Livermore now. So really, the only thing that's changed is this big Pikachu in the background in this ritual room I'm recording in.
I'm in a completely different room now as I'm recording this, but it's been good. I mean, same laptop setup, same chair and all that, but it's been a blast, and it's been great being embraced by other members of the podcast community, the written community, other MLS communities like MLS Multiplex has been a big part of this, the Beautiful Game Network, all of that.
Definitely.
And I continue to represent within San Jose, within the Bay Area, and within all of MLS and, the global discussion as MLS itself continues to be a part of that.
Yeah. And again, this is a big thank you for all of our fans, but even bigger thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, guys. Since the beginning, you guys have helped sponsor this show. It was a lot easier with you guys, because if I had to find a way to, pay for everything out of pocket, maybe we wouldn't be able to make all the content that we do. And maybe we wouldn't be able to go ahead and make all the graphics that we do. I learned how to make graphics. So we've come a long way, right? Fala has done a great job making graphics for us. And a lot of them have been just from the goodness of her heart. So she's done a great job with all the things. And again, I want to thank you guys, all the Patreon supporters, really the most, right? You guys really run the ship. Thank you so much. And we're going to be doing something new on our Patreon. So if you want to be a part of our Patreon, please go ahead and check it out. We're going to be doing exclusive polls. So a lot of times we can't really ask questions to the fans because, maybe it gets out into the wrong hands or it hurts some feelings. But on our Patreon, there's not that many followers. So we can go ahead and keep it a little tight knit group. And we can ask some questions that are a little too much for the regular public. But if you are interested, join our Patreon and join our polls and join our conversations. We're definitely going to be a little more present on our Patreon because we need to make a little bit of a community. So definitely that's our next chapter in this. But we have some games to talk about, Evan. We have the Sporting Kansas City. According to them, we're the worst team in the league.
Let me set this up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this has been a very wild week. Cade Cowell he was on the U.S. men's national team radar. Yeah. He was on that initial roster.
Right.
I honestly wasn't sure if he was going to make the cut or not. I figured he would be on that bubble. And then all of a sudden, as the group stage concludes, he's invited to the Gold Cup roster. So we're thinking, okay, maybe the Paul Arriola injury, or they're not sold on Jonathan Lewis enough that Cade could find a way in through the back door. So he was sent to the U.S. men's national team camp. He was unavailable for the Sporting Kansas City game, and until the 11th hour, unavailable for the Dynamo game either.
Right.
And then they decide at the last minute, no, we're going to stick with Paul Arriola. He's fit. He's ready to go for Jamaica. And they sent Cade Cowell back to San Jose. And that was pointless.
Yeah, right. We didn't have him for one of our most important games. But, it's unfortunate. I actually messaged him on Instagram. I told him, hey, because he's a young kid. So I was like, hey, man, keep your head up. You'll be back with the U.S. men's national team in no time. Like, don't let this, make you down. And he responded. He's like, thank you. I really do appreciate that. So if you guys are on Instagram, make sure you let him know, like, he's loved, because he's a young kid. So make sure a lot of this pressure can seem like a lot for him sometimes. So again, he's 17 years old. He's about to be 18. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys want to send him love, he's definitely going to look at it. He's always reposting us. So he does look at his Instagram. So definitely a nice guy. I felt really bad for him because at the end of the day, like, we kind of broke the news, and then we kind of broke the news that he's coming back. So I was like, oh man, like this is unfortunate news, but I have to tell everybody. But really, really unfortunate. But he'll be back. I have no doubt in my mind he'll be back.
Right, and there's a very good chance that clubs come calling for him, and he makes a move away from San Jose Earthquakes before he's even legally allowed to drink in the United States. So
like
we'll see.
Right? He went to go Venezia, and now he can drink.
Venezia, yeah. And anyway, they have to dig even deeper to get their first win in 2+ months.
Yeah.
Spoiler alerts, we're still waiting. They couldn't get it against Sporting Kansas City, where a late penalty scare, which was overruled, preceded a scarier and realized threat that equalized the game in the last minute. And from now on, Daniel Saloy will be known to me as Sad Boy. He was clearly tilted after the game.
Yeah.
Pressure mounted in the home fixture versus the Houston Dynamo game, with Seattle looming right after that. And we also had a last-minute winner in that game ruled out for offside, which continues this problematic pattern of draws. So it's become apparent that San Jose Earthquakes, now Draw SC, is cursed, regardless of improved performances.
Right. And a little bit about that Daniel Saloy comment. I mean, this might be a rivalry brewing, and I like it. I like this. I really do like this. Next time I have the opportunity to talk to Almeida, I'm going to ask him about this comment, because I do want to create a little bit of a rivalry, right? We played them in the playoffs. We took them to the end line, right? We were about to win, but unfortunately, Cade Cowell missed that shot, and then we went to penalties, and we lost in penalties. But
I know.
we were literally on the brink of beating them at home. And now we play them, at their house, and they say these types of comments, and it's just like, all right, well, maybe we have something here. Maybe if we play them in the playoffs again, we might be on the brink of a made rivalry, right? It's not going to be a locational rivalry, but maybe it's just one of those weird MLS rivalries, and
a blue color rivalry.
Right, exactly. We don't get enough love from the national media rivalry, right? So
Squirtle versus Mudkip.
Yeah, exactly. But the funniest part about this is when I was watching the game, these guys are such homers. Like I never realized how much the other opposing, because I have ESPN Plus, right? I'm in Japan. I'm watching it on every single broadcast, but the Sporting Kansas City reporters are some homers. I've never heard Daniel Slayton like that, or Chris Dangerfield to be that big of a homer. Anthony Passarelli, exactly. So I guess we do a good job. I want to give a shout out to all of our Quakes media team that represents us on the voice and on the TV. They do a great job. I don't think they're too big of homers, so they say it straight. But the Houston Dynamo game, man, how unfortunate. Of course it's my guy Andy Rios, right? like I literally was watching it on a playback, and I was watching it on a tape delay, and I was like, oh great, Carlos Fierro makes a goal on his birthday, and it gets taken away by Andy Rios himself, and I was like, dude, this guy's the most unlucky player in the world, right? But I have some comments about that. I'm going to talk about it later, but Ivan, do you have anything to say about those games?
I will have plenty to say about those games. We're going to work in a little bit of a Gold Cup update before we get into the thick of it. So the quarterfinals happened over this past weekend. Qatar, they were up 3-0 against El Salvador. El Salvador had a bit of a battle back, but it still ended 3-2 with Qatar moving on. USA beat Jamaica 1-0 through a Matthew Hoppe header, assisted by Christian Roldan. And it was a really gritty game. It was 0-0 until the 80th minute mark. And then USA finally broke through. Before that, Jamaica had plenty of dangerous chances, even without Leon Bailey, who ultimately didn't play due to a niggling injury. But USA, they were able to advance past Jamaica into the semifinals. A lot of people apparently were expecting a bit of a more convincing win against Jamaica, but clearly they haven't been paying attention to the last several years of Gold Cup matches and World Cup qualifiers. Jamaica beat USA in the Gold Cup semifinals in 2015 before USA beat Jamaica 2-1 in the final following Gold Cup. I was at that game in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. And you could argue that USA were also fortunate there too. And in the sense that Andre Blake had to come off injured with a broken hand, and they replaced him with Dwayne Miller. And so Jamaica has always been a thorn in the USA
Yeah,
side,
always.
not so much as like the Central American teams who tend to be a bit more CONCACAF-y and harsher with the fouls, but Jamaica are a strong physical team too, and
Yep.
they're also a very skilled team as well, that they don't get enough credit for that either.
Yeah,
So
and Jamaica could always be a better team than it is because all their best talent goes to play for England. Like Raheem Sterling could have played for Jamaica. I remember talking about this with Simon Dawkins. All the best English players are usually of Jamaican descent, right? And they could play for Jamaica, but unfortunately they always choose England. So this Jamaica team does have potential to be a powerhouse in CONCACAF, right? If some of these English players choose Jamaica instead, Gilbert Barnes, I believe, was another one where he was born in England and he chose to play for Jamaica, and he was a MLS, quality player for years. And Jamaica is not an easy game. This Qatar game coming up is probably a different type of level, but the Jamaica game, I mean, that's a hard game. Blake's a great goalie. They have young players that are hungry. I mean, they play in MLS, and these United States players, they play in MLS, right? So this quality is not.
There's some leaps in logic. Like
right.
People complain about the MLS players in USA. Thing is like, oh, they're not doing so well because they're relying on MLS players. Meanwhile, they're struggling against a Jamaica team that have not only MLS players but USL players.
Right. And it just shows the quality of all the teams in CONCACAF have risen because of the quality in the MLS and the USL. So it's better for all parts. I mean, I think personally, if the other teams in CONCACAF are stronger, because then maybe you get an underdog, or maybe you get, one of the team Canada to take out Mexico for us, so it's definitely a good thing. I was watching a little bit. Yeah.
Mexico beat Honduras 3-0, and then Canada did have an impressive win over Costa Rica 2-0. I tweeted about the Junior Hoylett goal where it was very well set up, but he also finished it beautifully. He is currently a member of Unattached FC. So I'm thinking like Quakes, they haven't been scoring enough goals lately, in my opinion. They've scored one or less goals in most of the recent games. So if Junior Hoylett is looking for a new club, like go ahead and, reach out to his agent, see what could happen. He could be a good starter / first player off the bench,
Yeah, it's weird. Like some of the guys that are unattached, it's like, man, like another one's Kai Kamara. We could have used Kai Kamara before the, Benji Renaissance. I mean, we could have definitely used the Kai Kamara, a high, a tall type of heading attacker. So it's weird that our team doesn't really look at those free agents. Yeah, right. Who knows? Throw him out there and 5 minutes left every game. Let's see if he heads the ball in, right?
Now that role is filled by Nathan.
Yeah, exactly. Nathan has filled that role. But moving on to the match day, Ivan, if you want to go ahead and talk about part one.
Yes. We have the first game of two that we're covering in this podcast. We were at Children's Mercy Park. They were one of the venues for the Gold Cup. So this was a bit of a recent change where now, they're hosting their MLS team again. Sporting Kansas City takes the field against San Jose Earthquakes. And right off the bat, there's some interesting personnel vacancies for the Kansas City home team, with Pierre Vermes unavailable, along with presumably Ilya Sanchez, given his absence from the matchday roster. They were in a COVID-related situation, so they were ruled out of that game. And then he was confirmed positive on Friday, 2 days after this game. So in comes Kerry Zavagnin, their assistant coach, lining up in a 4-3-3. Tim Melia in goal. Quakes fans know him well for not the best reasons. Well, good for him because he saved all 3 shots, but bad for us. Ram Zuzi in the right back role. There's Shea Salinas, a very versatile player who's played so many matches for the club. Nicola Isimat Marine with Andrew Fontes in that center back partnership. Luis Martins in the left back role. A midfield of Cameron Duke, Remy Walter, and Gadi Kinda. And you have Johnny Russell, Wilson Harris, and Daniel Saloy in that front three. Oh, I'm sorry, Sad Boy.
Johnny Russell is the guy, you know that meme where it's like, you're just not that guy, pal. Like, he is that guy. I mean, Johnny Russell has been tormenting us for years, and he's still tormenting other teams too, like Seattle just this past week. But I mean, Sporting Kansas City, I got to give it to them. I mean, they're in first place now, I believe, right?
Yeah.
They beat Seattle this last week, and
Russell scored in that game.
Yeah, and they're doing it all without Alan Polito. So this roster is built to win. So definitely something to keep an eye on, the Sporting Kansas City team. And if it becomes our rival, it's even better for us, right? Maybe we elevate our type of play against the best teams in the league.
Yeah. So, and the players that came off the bench for them were Roger Espinoza, the experienced Honduran international.
Yeah.
It would be the second club in a row that currently employs an experienced Honduran international. We'll get to Houston Dynamo later. Kerry Shelton and Jalen Lindsay as well. Jalen Lindsay, he filled in for Graham Zusi in that playoff match last time in the 2020 playoffs. In the previous result prior to this game, Sporting Kansas City were coming off a 2-0 win over LA Galaxy at Dignity Health Sports Park. This was on the 4th of July, so there's a 17-day gap in between games for Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, it's big.
They got their goals late from Johnny Russell and Kerry Shelton.
Yeah. And I mean, big gap of games. I mean, we've had how many games in that gap? Maybe like 3. So definitely they were fresh, or someone could say they were rusted, right? So, or they were rusty, right? So, either way you look at it, this was a place where we could have got some points, but a very unfortunate bounce off of JT Marcinkowski's back, and unfortunately, all the other players that weren't the Quakes were there to get the rebound. So, again, it seems like these draws are unfair, but at the same time, they're fair. So it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, quite the paradox you got there, Favi.
Right.
The Quakes lineup was a 3-4-3. So this was more of a clear-cut formation than the 5-4-1 question mark that was used against the Rapids. JT in goal, back three of Nathan, Alanis and Beeson, Salinas and Lopez, the fullbacks, or the wingbacks in this type of formation. Remedy and Utzon in the midfield partnership with no Jackson Ewell. And then up top, you have Lopez, Chofis Lopez, Wando, and Espinoza, with Rios, Fierro, and Abacastis off the bench. So you had Salinas and Marcos Lopez in that role. No Kate Cowell due the attempted U.S. men's national team call-up. And Kikanovic, he had a right thigh injury, so he was dropped to the bench for Chris Wondolowski, and he didn't appear in that game or the other game in this 2-game set recovery.
Yeah, and it looks like Benji did pick up a knock in that Colorado game. So he might have been playing with 110%, and he just picked up a knock. Hopefully we see him in the next game versus Seattle, because we're definitely going to need him. But for now, unfortunately, he is injured.
Yeah, and we wish him the best. I think it's always tough when you're a young player in this beginning part of your career. You finally get an opportunity, and then you get hurt. So hopefully it's not too big a setback.
He'll find time. He'll get that spot back for sure. No, there's no other player on this team that is a 9. So definitely he will get some minutes in.
Wouldn't Wondolowski be a 9?
No, I don't think he's a 9. I truly don't. I think it was evident in the last game that he's a secondary type of striker. He's not that head the ball in type of 9 player that we've always needed, right? Ever since Danny Houston was not that player, right? So Marco Ureña wasn't that player. So we've always needed a Benji type of 9. And with that comes, injuries. So definitely it's going to happen. He's going to pick up knocks, and then we're going to have to live with the striker partnerships that we have. But the goals came from Nathan in the 53rd minute from a corner kick, and Espinoza quietly builds his assists up. I mean, I think he's at 5 now. So definitely quietly gaining these assist numbers that maybe he'll reach his number of last year. Again, he's not playing the best. He's not playing, what he was last year, but he's just quietly getting these assist numbers up.
He's already on the top 10 assist list for San Jose Earthquakes all time. He's 4 off of Landon Donovan and Eric Winalda.
Yeah, and I mean, with these corner kicks and with Nathan on the end of them and Alanis on the end of them, he's getting a lot of these assists. So good for Espinoza to get those assists. And then Judson got a red card at the end, right?
Yeah, the equalizing goal for Sporting Kansas City came off of free kick situation. The initial ball hit the corner of the crossbar and the right post, and then it just fell to Sad Boy, and he was able to.
I can't believe it was Saloy that put it in. No, now that kind of hurts me. I mean, dang, he had those comments and he made the goal.
Yeah. It would have been worse if he made comments and he did nothing.
Well, yeah, maybe he wouldn't have made the comments, but hopefully he doesn't make the all-star team. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Anyways, the shots, Sporting Kansas City led 18-13. Kansas City also had 8 shots on target to the Quakes 3. They led in possession with 54% of it. They led in passing accuracy, 88% to 84%. Quakes created 2 chances to their 1. They had 9 corner kicks to Sporting Kansas City 6. Quakes fouled 19 times. They fouled 16 times. Offsides, 4 for the Quakes and 1 for Kansas City. And the card situation, Trophies picked one up in the 40th minute. Judson picked up a yellow 49th. Lindsay in the 57th. Now I'm feeling stupid because I didn't specify which Espinoza got a yellow card.
I think it's Christian. Yeah,
Espinoza. It was Christian. Yeah. Thank you. You got a yellow card in the 81st minute. Graham Zusi, 85th minute. Nathan, 86th minute. And then in stoppage time, Judson got his second yellow, which sent him off, and he was suspended for the Houston game.
Yeah, and I believe if Trophies gets 1 or 2 more, he won't be able to be at the next match. So this yellow card accumulation that the Quakes have been getting is really hindering us. I mean, it's kind of, it comes with the tactics. It comes with the formation or the style that we play. But, man, we need some depth in that central midfield. And it's weird that we gave away Eric Calvillo when we definitely could have used him this year. So it must have been something that he wanted to do. So he can get a little more.
Him too.
Yeah, so definitely an odd situation with our central midfield. Jack Scan played okay. I mean, we'll get into that later. But I felt like Eric Calvillo could give us a little more in that position personally.
I didn't know his name was pronounced that way until the press conference after the Houston Dynamo game.
Scahan?
I was calling him Scahan the whole time.
Well, how do you pronounce it?
No, you're right. It was.
Okay.
That's how he was addressed at the press conference, and so that's when I realized the error of my ways.
Oh, okay. But actually, so just talking about the first half notes of the Sporting Kansas City game. What did you think of the game? Who do you think played well? I think Eric Remedi has really been our MVP this year, personally. I know he's been fouled the most in MLS, and he kind of goes down a little easy. But again, this is a guy we've been missing. I mean, we've been missing the guy who goes down easy to get us in better positions. He's been doing it on their half of the field a little more the last 2 games. So I do like that. I think it kind of kills our counterattack ability when he does it when we're pinned back. But when he does it on their side, it's even better, right? So definitely Eric Remedi has been a really, really bright spot. And $200,000, really cheap guys. So definitely has been a bright spot. Ivan, do you have anything to say about this match?
Yeah, so the first half kind of paled in comparison to the second half. The interesting lineup decision for me, it wasn't a surprise because Tanner Beeson's been playing so well, but it's a back 3 of Beeson, Alanis, and Nathan. So that just put a underline an exclamation point in the depth chart regarding Flo Youngworth's role in this team, which is probably not what he expected going into the season. Yeah. But it's something to keep in mind going forward. And JT Marcinkowski was the busier of the 2 goalkeepers. He made an impressive save to keep it scoreless into the break.
Yeah.
Where, we went into the break, we didn't concede a goal. And that's, despite the desperation of wanting to win at halftime in a road game, that's a good place to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we saw Nathan make a couple of important tackles. Nathan has been a great signing so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this guy, I like his passion just like Flo. I like to see that. But maybe he's getting a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because he could have got a couple of yellows in these last games or maybe even a red. but definitely he's making some impressive tackles. So it's nice to see. His passing ability is pretty good. I only saw one errant pass from him, but he made up for it by getting back and taking the ball away from that player. We got to see Carlos Fierro come on. This is a player that I've really been excited for, to be honest, because I felt like we needed a winger that would want to cross the ball. And we saw that until he got his red card in the next game. But we'll talk about that. But he looks like he's recovered. Good thing. Haji has pressed him to, play his best ability. So we've seen more out of Carlos Fierro than in these last two games that we've ever seen. Just because I think he is scared for that starting spot with Seattle playing so well. And JT had a great game, but unfortunately he didn't get a clean sheet. Again, it's going to be hard with this formation and these tactics to get a clean sheet. So definitely we have to appreciate it when he does get one. Yeah.
And interestingly, also looking at some of the all-time records, there's four players on the Quakes history of goalkeepers that kind of, put themselves in their own tier in terms of shutouts. You have Joe Cannon, John Bush, Pat Onstad, and David Bingham. They have 27 or more clean sheets. And then the next tier is pretty much everyone else. Daniel Vega has 10 clean sheets, and JT Marcinkowski in a three-way tie with 6.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing, especially with this Matias Almeida kind of formation. I mean, Dom Kinnear made it so that we did get a lot of clean sheets, but then we also didn't score. So definitely a skewed stat just because of the types of coaches we've had.
This is why we can't have nice things and draw SC.
Yeah. And speaking a little bit about the Daniel Saloy comment again, Daniel Sadboy Saloy, he also said referees can have a bad game as well. But Peter Mervis, he goes off on the officiating as well. So definitely we haven't been able to talk to Matias Almeida besides after the games. So definitely going to talk to him about that, see if what he thinks about those comments. So we're excited for this next Thursday to see if we could talk to Matias Almeida about that. But match day part 2. So Ivan.
Wait, hold up. We kind of yada-yada over some of the points. I'll finish off with my thoughts on the Saloy and Vermes comments. But going back to the goal that Quakes did earn, Espinoza almost connected with Beeson in the first half off a corner, but then he made no mistake setting up Nathan for his first Quakes goal. It was a faint touch from the corner, but he did well, just enough for it to hit the post and go in. The best chance before the end of the game was Kyrie Shelton. He found himself in a one-on-one situation, but he held the ball on too long, which allowed Utzon and Alanis to recover. Nathan had his now trademark tackle celebration in a one-on-one duel with Kyrie Shelton. And then the big moment before the equalizer was in the 87th minute. A penalty was called for in physical contact with Johnny Russell. There was barely any of that, though. Russell kept playing. He wasn't calling for the penalty. The referee, John Dickerson, he went to VAR, and then he overturned the penalty. So what were you thinking in that moment?
I feel like if he dived, he would have got the call. I think, unfortunately, in this case, you don't benefit because you wanted to keep playing. And Shea Salinas on Instagram commented on the MLS's post about the whole situation, and he was like, I was right there. No penalty, good call. And I was laughing at that. I was like, that was pretty funny. I was like, to take the time out of your day to comment on the official MLS post, that's pretty funny. But I mean, I think it was a good call. If he would have dived, he would have got the call. So unfortunately for him, fortunate for us, right?
Yeah. So that was a break, but unfortunately, the Quakes just can't get it together to get over the line with 3 points.
Every time
talked about the equalizer. Yeah, go ahead.
Every time there's like a non-penalty call or a penalty call, this Quakes team just crumbles. I think it has to do with the VAR setup or something. Maybe they take too much time and they kind of get out of their funk. But I remember in the early parts of the season, in the earlier parts of the season, it was the same thing. Every time they had a goal opportunity or maybe a penalty, the other team would go back and score a goal. So it's definitely something to think about. Maybe it gets them off their groove or it gets them off the rocker a bit, and then all of a sudden they forget how to defend. But this team is not good at responding to almost calls, and that's evident.
Yep. And I think that's something that has to be worked on, because as much as I do feel like, in a way, I see, let's say partially in jest, this club is cursed, but they have to put themselves in positions to succeed. And part of that is scoring more than one goal a game, taking the chances when they come your way,
Right.
not leaving it to these sorts of positions. It's exciting, as I'm sure for a neutral, to watch these games always be down to the wire.
Right.
But as a fan, like, it's like nerve-wracking. And just to be able to kill a game off, it's an essential skill for a team aspiring to be successful in any league to have. And my last comment on the goal was I've been having a lot of goal deja vu moments with a lot of goals regarding Quakes and the U.S. men's national team lately. But this is another case of that, where the unfortunate nature of this free kick and how, the goalkeeper got a contact on it but was unable to do anything to stop it. It reminded me of a goal Shea Given, the all-time caps leader for Ireland, I believe. He was their goalkeeper at the Euro 2012 tournament. It made SportsCenter's not top 10 because it was another free kick situation where it hit the post, it hit his head and went in. It reminded me of that. It was a similarly unlucky goal. JT Marcinkowski deserved a clean sheet from that match, but it wasn't meant to be.
Right. No, definitely. And then Peter Vermees after the game went off on the refereeing, and everybody was going off on the refereeing. I thought it wasn't that bad, to be honest, compared to this next game, but that's all opinion based, right? So definitely looking forward to seeing this next matchup. I'm excited to see if this rivalry still happens. I mean, there's going to be a chip on the Quakes shoulder next time they see Sporting. So it's something that I'm looking forward to.
Your man of the match was Nathan, right?
Yeah. I think Nathan was definitely man of the match for that. He was
on MLS Team of the Week, deservedly so. And my last thoughts on Sad Boy is I have no beef with Sporting Kansas City. I think they're a good club. I think they're well run. We have the Jimmy Conrad connection. So forget the Blue Derby. Like, it's still the Jimmy Conrad Derby. And one of my good friends from MLS Multiplex, Nathan Dunn, he was a part of the MLS All-Star collaboration article we did. He's a Sporting Kansas City fan, but it's definitely going to be a beef with Daniel Saloy from this point on. And he can expect some, if he thought the challenges were tough on him before, he may be in for a rude awakening in the next game. But everyone else at that club, I think Vermees is one of the best coaches in MLS. And they're a club that, they don't sign a lot of flashy players. Like, the flashiest player they did sign was Alan Pulido.
That's a pretty big signing, though.
They've built their team well. They've got experienced U.S. men's national team players. Some of their young players we didn't really talk about, like Cameron Duke. They've stepped in this game. Tim Mealy is an underrated goalkeeper. So good on them for their success they've had in this season. But those comments definitely will leave a sour taste in the mouth. But we got to move on. And you can add one more thing.
Yeah, let me add one more thing. This Sporting Kansas City team kind of reminds me of like a Warriors light, basically. Before they had Alan Pulido, they were built well. They always competed, but then they got Kevin Durant, right? They got an Alan Pulido that takes them to the next level. So this Sporting Kansas City team is a good team. I mean, they're built well, right? They have they just lost Busio, but that's okay because they just have this pipeline full of young, talented players. And so it's something to keep an eye on in the next couple of years. They don't get a lot of credit because they are in the Midwest and they all have a chip on their shoulder and they all like that chili pasta. I forgot what the dish is called, but mile high chili or something like that. But
that's Colorado.
That's Colorado.
Is not mile high.
Yeah, right. But it's the Midwest, right? The Midwest is the Midwest. They eat some weird things out there.
They're known for their barbecue. Kansas City is one of the hot spots for barbecue in the United States.
And I got to talk to Jimmy Conrad out here because he's in Japan. So I got to really quickly say, hey, like, Jimmy, what's going on?
What's he doing in Japan?
He's covering the Olympics on Twitch.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
he's the main guy for the Olympic coverage. So my friend Carlos Eustace, he's always on the podcast. I've been in contact with him because he's over here as well. Daniel Slayton didn't come out here. She's out in the Connecticut headquarters covering the Olympics, but Carlos is out here as well. So we've been talking back and forth. So yeah. Maybe I can see Jimmy Conrad too.
Man, he's on Twitch, he's on YouTube, he's with CBS, he's with NBC, like all these things. That's great.
Yeah, in what world can you see Pokimane with Jimmy Conrad, right? So it's definitely two worlds colliding.
All right. But yeah, I wasn't trying to rush you, Favi, when I said we need to move on. I meant like the Quakes can't afford to dwell on the negativity. Like they can't get incensed by the comments. Like they just have to keep finding a way to win.
No, definitely.
The search continued this past Saturday at PayPal Park, where they hosted the Houston Dynamo. The changes from the last game regarding their lineup, obviously Utzon was suspended, so Jack Scan took his place. Marcos Lopez wasn't on the lineup, but Luciano Abacasi's got a run out. I think that's just saving legs because Marcos Lopez has had some knocks. Cowell was available off the bench, and he was one of the youth subs along with Fierro, Marie, Flo, and Rios. That was the first time we saw Flo in a while. He wasn't getting too many opportunities, but it was an interesting decision to see him as opposed to Siad Haji, who didn't make an appearance that game.
Well, Flo as a midfielder, right? So this has been a while since Flo has come out as a midfielder, and he did okay. I mean, I don't think he did too bad. Personally, I think he did okay. I mean, for the first game back at midfield, he's a little slower now, but it was all right. It wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his last name, but he has one of the coolest names in MLS now, a rare DP defensive signing, the Zimbabwe international, Teenage Hadibi. He made his debut the game before this one, and he's now a central figure in the Houston Dynamo defense.
He played well
through their lineup now.
Yeah, he played
Marco
well.
Maric is their goalkeeper. He won that job. There's a bit of a goalkeeper competition there for Dynamo, but Maric has been their starting goalkeeper for this season. Zarek Valentin, Tim Parker, Teenage Hadibi, and Sam Yukwa were their back line. They had a midfield of Griffin Dorsey, Matias Vera, Joe Corona, and Memo Rodriguez. And then their partnership up top was Maxi Urruti and Fafa Picot, with their youth subs being one of their DPs, Darwin Quintero, Derek Jones, Adam Linkvist, and Mateo Bajamic. And some of their notable absentees were all international call-ups. No Ariel Lassiter, no Tyler Pasher, former Quakes player Darwin Seren with El Salvador, and then the Hondurans, Boniek Garcia and Maynor Figueroa, all representing their respective teams in the CONCACAF Gold Cup.
Yeah, and Boniek Garcia was
this weekend. All but Tyler Pasher should be heading back to Houston Dynamo since Costa Rica, El Salvador, and Honduras are all eliminated.
Yeah, and Boniek Garcia was the one player that when in the last game that we played against them, he stepped into that center back role and played it well. I mean, he was one of those players where it's funny because he played center attacking midfield for like a lot of his career, but he stepped in and played center back for that game. So I was excited to see that he wasn't on the roster, but it looks like in that time they got a DP center back, so definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, so this is always a surprise, even though I know he's an experienced player and he's been around the block, but just how old he is and he's still playing at a decent level for a club and country. Maynor Figueroa is 38 years old.
Yeah, that's a little crazy. Darwin Seren is getting up there in age too, and he plays for club and country, so definitely something to think about.
Yeah, he was one of the 3 MLS players representing El Salvador, Darwin Seren, along with Christian Roldan's brother Alex and Eric Zavaleta.
Yeah, so El Salvador looks fun.
Darwin Seren, he's only 31. He's not too old, but hopefully we'll see Calvillo on the senior team soon enough.
I thought, I've heard Darwin Seren so long in this league that I thought maybe, he's getting up there in age, but I was wrong. I apologize.
Yeah, he was with Orlando City since 2014, the year before they became an MLS club. So, yeah, that has been a while. But anyway, the goals in this game, the first one came from Matias Vera. It was unassisted because it was a failed clearance that led to him getting the ball. And then it went in off the post, I believe. anyway,
it was a banger. It was a banger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went past JT Marcinkowski. He was full stretch and still can get to it. And then
I wouldn't say failed clearance, to be honest, because he did get a lot of space. I mean, it was a header off of Alanis, and he did get a lot off of that clearance. It's just he got the ball.
No one closed in on him.
Right. And he just scored a banger. Like, that's a hard goal, and he scored it, right? So kudos to him.
Yep. We'll add that to the curse.
FC, right. We always get scored bangers on. Always. Like the Whitecaps, when they play us, Godoy scores a banger. It's like, what's going on here? Like, why are they always scoring bangers on us? But definitely kudos to him.
Ali Adnan also scored a good goal for the Whitecaps against the Earthquakes in the back tournament. And he's no longer a Whitecaps player. I believe he's headed back to his parent club, Udinese. I'm not totally sure, but I believe that's the case.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, that's a talent that they're going to miss out on. But
so
go ahead.
Yeah, Valentin scored an own goal. I mean, if that wasn't an own goal, it was going to be a goal by Alanis. He was right behind him. Tanner Beeson. I don't know who was behind him, but it was one of them. Yeah, it was one of them. But Christian Espinoza could have got his 6 assists, right? He could have got another assist if it wasn't an own goal. So definitely unfortunate if you're Christian Espinoza, because then you need to get some of this. I'm not playing so well off my back, and that would have been away. So you know what? They should give assists to own goals. I think assists to an own goal would be the best way to kind of give some credit to the other team.
Yeah, I think there's no reason they can't do it, but other than, that's just the way it's always been.
Let's just,
it's not the best explanation for anything, but
let's just inflate MLS stats so the prices of these players go up and everybody makes more revenue. I'm down with that.
Yeah, true. Because when other clubs from other leagues are looking for players, like they're not going to be going into like,
the
how
rule
many
book.
of those assists were own goals.
Right.
How many assists.
Exactly. So let's just find ways to inflate these numbers and get a whole bunch of revenue back in for these guys. But yeah, the stats, I'll go ahead and go over them. The Quakes led 12-10 on shots. Shots on targets, though, the Dynamo led 5-2. Mm-hmm. Possession, the Quakes had 65%. Well, I couldn't tell, right? I couldn't tell they had that much of an advantage. And the same goes for you, because in the notes you felt like it wasn't that decisive with their advantage. Passing accuracy, this is a big one. 84% by the Quakes and 67% by the Dynamo. Man, seems like the Dynamo really squeezed out a draw when they didn't deserve it. Chances created, none. Nobody created any chances. Ugly game. Corners, the Dynamo had 5, the Quakes had 3. Fouls, the Dynamo had 19 and the Quakes had 12. Offsides, 1 each, but the Quakes offsides mattered a lot more than the Houston Dynamo's offsides. Yellow cards, 53 by Pico, 57 by Parker, 68 by Vera, 70 by Nathan, and Fierro a straight red. And then 98-minute Ruti gets a yellow card.
And let me just quickly correct on a previous comment I made. So Ali Adnan is currently without a club. It was a mutual consent contract termination due to his inability to get a visa. If that had anything to do with his Iraqi nationality, that's a darn shame. But there's a lot of complications with Canadian clubs being stuck in the United States until recently, and certain nationalities having a harder time getting visas due to COVID or other problematic policies. But that's another topic for another day. But I just wanted to. He's not un essay. The Canadian clubs are having a hard time with COVID vaccines too. There was a player I remember that got transferred because he didn't want to get a vaccine. He got transferred to Columbus Crew. Eric Hurtado. Yeah, Eric Hurtado.
Yeah,
that's right.
So unfortunate time to be a Canadian club. You just have a whole bunch of problems going on. But hey, Ali Adnan is available. Hey, let's Quakes, what's up? Hey, we could use a backup for Shea Salinas.
He would be a starter, but yeah.
Yeah, right. So definitely what's going on there. See, this is why, like, if you're a GM,
I don't get this
what's going on?
transfer policy. Like, they do the bare minimum. Like, they hit so far. They've hit a home run with Nathan, but the roster still needs more work.
Right.
As much as we love these players, like you still have to be making moves.
Like I love all of the Quakes players and I'm a fan of everything, but Jack Scahan has no business being on the starting 11. Okay. Like,
so let's talk about that. He was a surprise starter for this game, presumably because he was the closest fit to Judson or Judson. I keep giving him the Spanish pronunciation when it comes from a Portuguese speaking country. Sorry, Judson. He was suspended, but instead of giving maybe Siad Haji a start and more attack minded midfielder, they went with Scan, who he can play all three of the center mid positions. I had a conversation with Charles Wallen, and I got a bit more insight about Scan's ability there. But
I was expecting maybe a Carlos Fierro to come in as the 10.
Yeah, that's another idea.
And then a Chofis Lopez to go back and help Eric Ametti. I was expecting that, to be honest, but maybe Almeida had faith in starting one of the younger guys in these games. So definitely kudos to Jack Scahan for getting his first start.
Yeah. So would you consider the Ted Uncle Nathan collision with the referee more or less strange than the translator getting sent off? I think less strange, right?
I don't know. I was watching it at work and I called my coworker over. I was like, hey, look at this. Like, this never happens. Like, what's going on with this?
But it could happen more often, considering not a lot of clubs have a translator for the coach. And a referee, there's always a referee in the middle of the game, and there's always a chance that they're going to bump into a player.
Yeah, but it was just so weird, right? Like, so weird. And he was bleeding. It wasn't like a little collision either. It was like full on Nathan on the floor rolling around, the ref rolling around. Like, what's going on here?
The opposite of ruffling, because there was no laughter.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, that was a weird situation. The translator getting sent off, that was more like, this is really MLS-y, you know, like that. Yeah. That seems very MLS-y. Like, none of the refs speak Spanish. Like, what? We're living in America and none of the refs on that whole team doesn't speak Spanish and can understand what that it's Matias Almeida saying those things. Like, come on. Like,
so a lot of the Quakes action was through the middle of the park. Aside from that referee fiasco, they were able to replace him, I believe, with the fourth official.
Right. But later it comes back to haunt the Quakes, right?
Oh yeah. In the first half, you had Remedy. He was winning some free kicks inside the Dynamo half. You had Jack Scan getting involved, but if he wasn't losing the ball, his shots or pass selection needed to work on. He was working hard and he was trying, which, you know, is what you can hope from a young player or a deaf player. You want that energy from that part of the squad, but unfortunately the energy didn't really go anywhere. His closest attempt, their captain, Tim Parker, he got in the way and blocked the shot. And then we talked about the 40th minute goal. It was a banger from Matias Vera. I described it as a slow but laser-like shot. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was perfect placement. I mean, it was low. You know, like every time Utzon hits the ball, it goes all the way to China. You know, it flies up in the air and it hits the scoreboard, goes into Lobina.
It hits one of the Southwest planes from the San Jose airport.
Yeah, exactly. So to see a long range shot just glide on the floor, like, you just got to appreciate that. Like, dang, that's a banger. You know, like, I wish we had a guy who could shoot like that. Like, Jackson Yule can do that, but we haven't seen it in a long time since DC United. So, unfortunately, this is how the Quakes lose or get draws, right? They get scored on because we didn't close off on them and because we're just tired from all the man marking. So it makes complete sense about the tactics.
So between all the action and weird events of the two halves, both halves ended with 6 minutes of stoppage time. So that's 102 minutes of soccer played. It was almost like you played a half of extra time.
Yeah, no, definitely. Always. Yeah, but I mean, the ref went down for a long time, so it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense.
You're right. Yeah. The literal last chance of the half, and you gotta give credit for Shea Salinas because he was also very effective in this game. He was getting into some dangerous positions. He was turning some half chances or like barely getting to the balls. He was able to win some corners or draw a free kick. And that free kick turned into an own goal where Espinoza set it up, and then it went into the box where one of the Quakes defenders looked nearby, but it went off Zarek Valentin last. And so it's ruled an own goal, but we'll take it. Like, we need all the goals we can get.
Yeah, no, definitely. Finally, the Quakes get thrown a bone, right? I mean, what were you? I mean, at that point, when you're that defender, I think you were Valentin. You just gotta put it in yourself. You know, you gotta be on the score sheet. You know, it's gonna go in anyway. You're gonna look bad. So might as well just not give them an assist, right?
Yeah. So granted, this team has been cursed and unlucky, but the Quakes have benefited from some fortune of their own. Yeah. They just haven't been able to capitalize on it. And in the second half, there had to have been another option to try to get a goal. Cowell's first contributions when he was subbed on, he set up Abacasi's and he was able to get a shot on goal. And
that was our first shot on goal in the 70th minute. So that's the problem, right? Wondolowski started that game, and where was he, right? Where was Wondolowski to be found?
Not his best game, unfortunately.
You know what? Wondolowski doesn't play good against Houston. I'm going to say it. The highest goal scorer versus Houston is Kari Stephenson, right? It's not Wondolowski. So something about Houston, Wondolowski does not play well against. And it was evident this game as well. He didn't have a shot. So it's definitely a game to forget if you're Chris Wondolowski.
Osvaldo Alanis also had a free kick, but Marco Maric saw it all the way through. Andy Rios was subbed on. He had a shot that went wide.
It was close.
It was. I can't fault him for too much for that opportunity. It's not one of those comic shots that weren't even close. Like, he's had a couple of those.
Right.
Maric was forced to make a great save late on, and then the breakthrough happens, and then the celebrations are completely evaporated when the referee throws the flag up.
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings about this. I kind of held back. I didn't really talk about it on Twitter. I felt like if he wasn't there, it would have been cleared. If he was onside, he wouldn't have blocked. He wouldn't have made the goalie, adjust for him. So that he almost hit it. Like, it almost goes off of his knee. So of course the goalie is adjusting to that, to possibly him being on the ball. So he wasn't the only person offside. So there was like two other players offside as well on the lower part. The only thing I have to say is they probably weren't used to Fierro taking free kicks and the speed of Fierro taking his free kicks, because he usually doesn't take the free kicks. But again, just completely unfortunate for the Quakes to not be able to score that second goal. That would have been an awesome goal. And this whole podcast would just been a different feeling. The Quakes would have a different feeling around the locker room. It would be, we're back on track.
Our vocabulary would be different. There would be a different podcast title.
Right. It would just be a different, complete different feeling. But of course, it's my guy, Andy Rios. And I want to talk about it a little later since we have a question about it. But I do understand why he does get playing time. And I hope you guys take the chance to listen to me later on.
Yeah. And from my view, when I was at the game, I was at the other end of the stadium from where the goal happened. I couldn't see why it was called, so I was just frustrated and upset at the time. But after the game, as I was waiting for the press conference to begin, I looked up the replay. Charlie Davis also would break it down on an MLS video. Because Andy Rios obstructed Zarek Valentin, who otherwise would have cleared the effort, it was unfortunately the right call, even though it sucked. And why can't the refs suck when we want them to?
Right. And some people get away with that, right? Some people, some players get away with that. Some teams get away with that. And unfortunately, the Quakes did not get away with it. So I think it was because Nathan took out the other ref. So, I mean, he was like, all right, time to get some payback,
I'm more frustrated at Carlos Fierro, though, because after that chance, he has a retaliation tackle, and it was just completely unnecessary. All it did was earn him a red card, and now he can't play in the next game. So that's not good for him, who's he's always had a bit of an uphill battle trying to get game time for Quakes.
Yeah, with Vaco
trying
being
to win over the fans, and it's just like you're making your own problems and you're adding to the problems of the club, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, and he was playing better. I mean, he right when he came on, he tried to cross it to Chris Wondolowski, which I've seen no one do. So definitely he's been playing better. I thought that there was a couple of opportunities where people could have played him with space, but unfortunately the ball didn't come. And I think he could have helped us during these tough times of Jackson Ewell not being there. But unfortunately, he won't be able to help us like next game. I'm excited though. I bought a Carlos Fierro Juneteenth jersey, so we're hopefully gonna put it up here soon.
Oh, that's great.
So hopefully, his performances turn around.
Yeah, that's incredible that those types of jerseys are being sold. It's just another great thing that's come of the MLS Black Players for Change initiative.
Yeah.
And whenever you get an opportunity to support them, please do, because there's a lot of, great African diaspora players in our league that they want their voices to be heard. And I think as well, sometimes in the soccer community, Black voices in general, they aren't heard as often as we would like. So that's a great way to ensure that they are, we're furthering their initiatives there.
No, definitely. And I haven't bought a jersey in a long time. And I was like, you know what? This is a good, very good foundation to go ahead and buy a jersey, because all the benefits go to Haji's foundation where they get fresh water for Africa. So definitely something to be proud of. And I was like hoping somebody would throw me a jersey, being part of Tectonic Takes, we get a free one, like maybe for the press conferences or something. But no, this is a jersey that I wanted to buy. I wanted to hang up. So definitely to keep everybody in mind that, this is bigger than football sometimes. And
I'm just impressed by young players like him and Jacob Akanyarije. They've been doing so much, even though they haven't been like too involved in the Quakes side of things on the field. They've been doing a lot of work off the field.
What's funny about Jacob Akanyarije is I always see him in the practice photos, man. He's always having a fun time. He's always laughing. So it's like, maybe he's just a locker room guy, maybe he's just the guy everybody likes to pick on. I don't know, but he always looks like he's having fun.
Yeah, he can play though. I think, he's going to be given a chance at some point.
Yeah, he's young, right? So maybe he's the guy of the future. Who knows?
Yeah. I also picked Nathan for a man of the match in this game. I think he's been a game changer, and I think him and JT Marcinkowski, they've shown how you can play well even if you're not getting clean sheets. A lot of clean sheets depends on the players around you, and sometimes refereeing decisions, sometimes general luck. And I think that they're doing the best they can. I don't think JT Marcinkowski has made too many errors in the last few games that has made me question his future with the team, or question what do we see in him? Of course not. Like, he's still very solid. Yeah,
and just to kind of quickly wrap this up, since we're getting close to the hour and a half mark, fantasy league update. Terry Soccer Gods is now sole first place, 12-1. I know Scary Terry's out there talking to all the fault liners, saying how good she is at fantasy MLS. Dave Romero tells me, so definitely proud to see Terry, in first place. She's proud of her team. What a wonderful world, joining second and other teams in a four-way tie for second. And myself, I fall to 7-6. I got to do a little better of a job. I've been captaining Cade Cal, even though he hasn't been playing, so I need to set my lineup.
Yeah, come on, Favi.
Yeah. I know my Wi-Fi has been so bad out here. I'm actually tethering off my phone right now, so hopefully this podcast stands up. But quickly going over the standings, Seattle Sounders are in first place, but they lost to Sporting KC. So is that up to date, or is Sporting KC in first place, Ivan?
The standings are up to date as of July 25th. So the Sounders had a bigger lead, but Sporting Kansas City cut into it, and now they're only 2 points behind.
Yeah, when you said as of the 25th, I'm like, wait, it's the 27th, because I'm in Japan. So I'm like, wait, what's going on here? But interesting, people. We see Houston Dynamo, 17 points, 9th. Portland Timbers under the playoff line with 19 points. And we see a four-way tie, or almost a four-way tie. If Austin ties their next game, which they probably will, there will be a four-way tie with 14 points at the bottom of the league with FC Dallas, San Jose Earthquakes, the Whitecaps, and possibly Austin FC. So that's just a
Austin
little.
play Rapids next, so
Yeah.
that's not guaranteed a tie, but it's possible.
They always tie, right? Or they lose. But in the Eastern Conference, the New England Revolution have been playing lights out this year. They're in first place with 33 points. Orlando has been falling. The sky is falling in Orlando without DK. They just lost 5-0 to the New York City FC.
That was a
weird
result.
Weird, right? So they dropped to third place. Nashville quietly in second place with 26 points. Nashville, what?
Well done, Nashville. We'll see when they get Walker Zimmerman back because he's ruled out for the Gold Cup due to injury. Right. So that also means that he's not going to play a role for Nashville in these upcoming games either.
Yeah, and it's good to see Anibal Godoy balling. I mean, he's still doing. He wants a Quake, always a Quake. So it's good to see him doing well. Inter Miami with the wooden spoon right now, right? 9 points. That's
the scary part is they're only 5 points fewer than San Jose Earthquakes. So Quakes are in this very perilous position. They're 6 points away from the playoffs, but 5 points away from Inter Miami. So a few games here and there could either prop the season up to being salvageable, or it could just be the last card that gets pulled for the house of cards to crumble down.
Right. Yeah. And upcoming games, Ivan, are you excited for any of them?
So let's see. There's an interesting midweek game that kicks off this match week. LAFC versus Minnesota United. It's going to tell us a little bit more about what we can expect for the LAFC game that's coming up for the Quakes. On Friday, you got some heavy hitters, or at least some teams trying to get back to that status, like Columbus Crew versus NYC. We'll see if they can keep up that momentum from the Orlando game. Yeah. You have Galaxy versus Timbers is always going to be an interesting matchup. Yeah. It's a matchup I was able to see in person at Dignity Health Sports Park shortly after the World Cup. That was Omar Gonzalez's first game back after the World Cup. And I was there because my brother Eric, who is currently a goalkeeper at SF State, he was there for a soccer tournament, so we tagged along. Other interesting games, the Saturday game, other than the Sounders Quakes game that stands out to me, is going to be New York Red Bulls against New England Revolution. I think New York Red Bulls, they have some interesting, talented players. Not Cade Cowell, Caden Clark. He's been an interesting one to watch. And then on Sunday, the one that stands out for me, and it's unfortunate that it kind of overlaps with the Gold Cup final. It's Toronto versus Nashville. Toronto has been playing better now that Chris Armas is no longer their manager. And Nashville, as you said, they're second in the East. So they're definitely worth watching, even if they don't play the flashiest brand of soccer. Yeah. And I think MLS and CONCACAF need to do a better job. They have to be more in sync in terms of Gold Cup scheduling, particularly on the weekends. Like, you have a lot of time to play with. Like, even if Toronto versus Nashville, like if they play 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific type of time slot for them, that way they don't interfere at all with the Gold Cup final, and their fans don't have to choose. Right. Particularly, for Toronto FC, if Canada manages to beat Mexico, if they make the final, like they'd love to watch that final. Definitely. So, yeah, that's something that I'm surprised hasn't been ironed out. Do you have any other games that stand out for you?
Yeah, the Austin FC game versus Colorado. I want to see how Austin does. I don't think they believe they should be at the bottom of the Western Conference. So, an exciting game to look forward to, especially if they bring in that one Argentinian from the Dynamo, from Dynamo Kiev, right? Not the Dynamo, Kiev, Dynamo Kiev. So
I think definitely it's Driussi. Yeah, he's a solid pickup. So there's some debate as to whether the Russian Premier League is better than MLS or not. I'd say Russian Premier League has become more of a top-heavy league, where like someone like Zenit is going to be better than most MLS teams or all of them. But then there's a couple of clubs that, like, there's a growing gap between the haves versus the have-nots in Russia. But overall, like, they're a decent European league. Like, we understand MLS, it's not going to be at the level of the top 5 leagues in Europe, and maybe it's still like trying to compete with some of the other like second leagues in Europe. But we're happy with where it is right now, and it's getting better.
It's fun, right? And looking forward to the Sounders game. Are they more vulnerable now than ever? Yes. After losing to Sporting Kansas City, this Seattle team is beatable because
their
of the
second loss of the season. Their first was against Minnesota. That rid them of their Invincibles goal, if it was one. I think the Sounders, they don't care about being invincibles in the regular season. They care about qualifying for the playoffs, and they care about winning the MLS Cup. So they're not going to be losing too much sleep over that.
And honestly, the Gold Cup final, if the U.S. men's national team make it, is better for the Quakes than it is for the Seattle Sounders. They won't have Roldan, so that's something to look forward to. They will have Alex Roldan, so that's a player that will come back and play for Seattle and will play well. Hopefully, he doesn't have to play goalie again.
Right backs in the league. I think there's a good chance both Roldan brothers could be on the All-Star roster.
Yeah, and Raul Diaz, Alex Roldan, and a JV team will be playing the Quakes. So they are vulnerable. So definitely they are pretty vulnerable. I'm excited for this game. I think this is a game where the Quakes can pick up all 3 points. I think this is going to be like our LAFC game last year that made us go into the playoffs. I think no one has us to win this game. Remember, everybody had us to win the Vancouver game and we lost it. And they were like, oh, it's over. The season's over. The same thing is with the Houston game. I think this is a game where we all had it penciled in to win, but we drawed, and we are going to win this game, I feel like.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a JV team. They did set an MLS record for most teenagers starting a game with 5 against Austin, and they still won. Raul Diaz scored an incredible goal in that game. But you also have players like Joao Paulo, who is a decent contributor to that midfield. And they'll have their back line of Yamar Gomez Andrade, Javier Arriaga, Nuhu Tolo, that these are all experienced players that are among the best in their positions in MLS. 1 or 2 of them could get all-star selection as well. Like, Seattle Sounders have had an incredible start to the season. I don't think the wheels are coming off. I think more so that they're biding their time until the Gold Cup is over and until Nicolas Lodeiro is back healthy. And I think if they think that Lodeiro is going to be out for longer and potentially not for the playoffs, the Sounders are certainly going to look to make a transfer.
Right. And going into kind of the fan questions now to wrap this up, I want to take the first one, please, Ivan, if you let me. Stuart Berman, Quakes fan Stu, big fan. I mean, he's been around for a while, so we all know Stu. He asks, why does Andy Rios continue to get game time? And I'm going to tell you the reason right now. Look at this roster. Look at this roster. I mean, with Benji injured, with Cade Cowell away, who's going to go in and play striker? Well, Lafc's 40 years old. He's 40 years old almost, right? So definitely Andy Rios comes in just based off of we need a striker to come in or something to come in, a 10 to come in for trophies because he hasn't played a full 90. Andy Rios is a player that can play the 10 well. He holds up the ball well, and he can distribute the ball well. But unfortunately, the finishing is just not there. But he can distribute the ball well in the middle of the field. He can hold it up, then distribute it well on the counter. And we saw that in this last Houston Dynamo game. And I know I saw a couple of comments out there maybe saying, maybe we're giving a little too much flack on these guys like Carlos Fierro and Andy Rios. But then Andy Rios goes ahead and messes up our goal. So definitely it's a two-edged sword, right? He's the only person on this roster that can come off the bench and hold up the play and distribute the ball well, so that Cade Cowell and the wingers can get forward. Lopez Lopez doesn't do that well. I think Jackson Ewell does it a lot better. So definitely something to look forward to. But that's why he gets playing time. Unfortunately, it's not because he has a picture of Matias Almeida's mom. It's not because it's something where we feel like he could fight well. No, it's he has a good hold up play. Unfortunately, the end result's not there. He doesn't come on a striker all the time. He comes on as a 10. So definitely just something to chew on. But Vicente Alvarez from Instagram asked, does Almeida sub in and out the right people, Ivan?
I'll take care of Vicente Alvarez's questions. Yeah. He asked a couple of them. I'll do them a bit rapid fire. Regarding Almeida's substitutions, I've said in previous podcasts that's the part of Almeida's role as coach that is hardest for me to defend, because he at least one substitution per game. And granted, he does have 5 of them. So, the probability of getting one of them wrong or making a questionable substitution is higher. I didn't understand why Florian Youngworth was subbed in the situation he was in when you have Siad Haji available. So I think a lot of his substitutions that I have criticized, it has come down to like minute management, fatigue, legs, and I get that. But at the same time, you have to balance that with you actually getting points on the board. Because even though right now the Quakes still have a chance of getting to the playoffs, and I've totally gone off the rapid fire path, but I'll try to get back on it. It's going to get harder and harder to make progress up the table if you're constantly making conservative substitutions. But as for the other questions, he asked how bad is Christian Espinoza's form this season, and I just made a note under it that his form hasn't been that bad. Like, perhaps compared to his expectations, we expect more of him, but he is providing a lot of the attacking threat. He assisted Nathan's goal against Kansas City. He was part of the play that created the own goal. And his last question, though, with Salinas is underrated. He definitely is underrated. I think with all the attention on Chris Wondolowski, he's definitely retiring after this season. Shea Salinas, he's in that part of his career where he's going to get 1-year contract extensions until it's his time he decides to retire too. So he does go under the radar, but he's proven to be the ultimate utility player once again this season.
Yeah, and quickly, I have something to say about Matias Almeida's subs. If you use all 5 subs, one of them will be bad. Colorado only used 2, so they don't have an opportunity to do bad subs. I think having fresh legs is more important than what the personnel is. So I feel like in situations, maybe he wants to have fresher legs for other games and we won't get the full picture. So I do think he does have okay subs in and out. Christian Espinoza.
I think Almeida should prioritize, though, making attacking substitutions to win the game first before subbing in players for rest reasons. That would be the one thing I would change to have potentially the best of both worlds. And that's completely true. He likes to make 5 subs, and that's something I give him credit for using as much of his available subs as possible, because not a lot of coaches do that. And I think that is something he does right.
Yeah, and Mario Trejo says Wando's too old and we need to move on from him.
Okay, so I also made a note there too.
Yeah,
Wondolowski is retiring this season. After this season, there's no more Chris Wondolowski as a player. Like, you don't need me to tell you everything Chris Wondolowski has done for the club and what he still brings to this club. Right. You will be a part of this last ride no matter what. He's going to start some games. If for another reason, then he's going to be able to lead these guys into battle and help get to this club, get some good results, even if he's not having the best individual performance. So this wasn't his best point. He wasn't a traffic cone out there, and you can go ahead now.
Yeah, I want to see Chris Wondolowski and Carlos Fierro come off the bench every game. I want them to have a partnership where Carlos Fierro crosses the ball into Chris Wondolowski and all the defenders are tired. So that's what I want to see from Chris Wondolowski this year.
So with that situation, would you have your first choice front 3 be Chofis, Espinoza, and Cal?
Yes, if Cal can't go, Benji. If Benji can't go, Andy Rios. Andy Rios, more of a eat up some minutes, bringing Wondolowski full fresh.
Tire out the defenders.
Yeah. But I would love to have that. But another question asks, Roberto from Instagram asks, what does the team need to do to get back to his winning ways? Ivan, you don't know.
We've seen this play out through this stretch of
right?
calls. Something different takes the form of Lucy and takes the ball away from San Jose Earthquakes as Charlie Brown every time. And it's just like the only thing you can do is you keep picking your strongest possible lineups.
Right.
You minimize the mistakes and you maximize your opportunities. it's been great that we've been scoring the first goal in a lot of these games. That's something that I've noticed, and that's something that's been improved on from other problematic trends. But we got to get that second goal, maybe even the third goal. That gives you that room for error. If you can see the penalty, tough shit. Like, at least you're up 2-1 or 3-1 in that situation. But the Quakes just need to continue to play out of this bad run of form.
Griffin Leonard. Oh, guys, thank you, all you guys, for the questions. I mean, we have a whole bunch.
Yeah.
So this is a long episode. Griffin Leonard from Twitter asks, how many more matches without a win with Almeida before he gets the boot? Almeida's not getting the boot. He would have already got the boot.
Yeah.
So
I think we've established that the Quakes, they give their coaches, their managers, much longer leashes than by MLS standards and certainly by world football standards.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to make a managerial change, it has to be something like catastrophic for it to be in the middle of the season. I think Almeida, the most time he's in danger of either getting sacked or leaving in any capacity is during the off season. And we can kind of shrug at some of like, oh yeah, Almeida's linked to insert Argentine club here, insert Mexican club here, insert
call them both team.
Spanish-speaking national team here.
Right.
Yeah, watch him go somewhere random like the Preston North End after this.
You know what? If the Quakes make the playoffs, you know what?
5-year contract extension.
He may stay. Just maybe he wants to end it with a good note, right? If they make the playoffs this year, and let's say they go to a second round, he may stay. He might want to fix all the wrong, maybe because next year he's not going to have all these guys on the books. Maybe he gets a second go, right? Who knows, right? But it's not profitable for the Quakes to leave him or to let him go. I'm going to say that right now. They put too much money to invest into this coach, and if they had a transfer fee coming in for him, okay, maybe they let him go, but they're not. That's not the case right now. Yellow Mamba.
We got 2 more questions. Oh, wait. Sorry. Yeah. Let's do the 2 more left on the notes we have. We do have one more question that was on Twitter that it was kind of late, so I didn't have a chance to add here. So let's go with the ones we have.
No worries. Yellow Mamba did Front Row SF. Did the much anticipated meeting with Almeida and Fisher happen? I'm usually on the press conferences. Alex Morgan, great journalist and great person from Quakes Epicenter. He asked the question and Almeida kind of shrugged it off. He says they haven't met yet. So it looks like it hasn't happened yet. And will the Quakes ever get 3 points again? Who knows, right? Who knows? Next question.
Obviously, yes, but we just don't know when.
Right. Manuel XCVI, what players would be most likely to leave in the upcoming transfer window? This is a juicy one. I put it on Instagram, and I had the Quakes fans choose between Marcos Lopez and Cade Cowell, who is more likely to leave in this next offseason, because I think that's pretty much who I would think. Jackson Yule has been playing not so well, so I kind of took him off of that. But let's see what the Quakes fans thought it was. Who's more likely?
I'm thinking Flo Youngworth could be out the door if he's not happy with his role.
I was looking more of like, I guess, potential future, but the Quakes fans chose, wow, this is a pretty close voting. 20 people voted for Cade Cowell and 17 voted for Marcos Lopez. So pretty close. If you guys aren't following us on Instagram, please do. We have all these fun polls and all these fun questionnaires. So definitely it's a fun time to follow us on Instagram. But yeah,
if they do move on, let's just real quick, what kind of club/league do you think will get the most out of Cade Cowell and as well as Marcos Lopez?
I think Cade Cowell's made for the Premier League. I don't think he's ready for it.
Maybe the championship?
Yeah, I wouldn't want him to go to the championship though. A
promotion chasing championship club?
I don't think they would pay what we want from him. I really don't think they would pay. I think we want close to $8 million or $7 million.
Fulham, I think, has a connection with American players. I think they would probably be the one.
I think maybe League One. I would like to see him in League One. Maybe
I was gonna say Bundesliga
or a Bundesliga, yeah,
because that's been a great path for American players.
League One has been as well. I mean, with Timothy Weah and Munsa, right? I believe they come out of League One. Oh no, Munsa's in Valencia. I'm sorry, but I think I would like to see him and Martial or a Lyon. That would be pretty cool, right? American in France, so exciting. And it's an easy league, right? It's not that hard of a league outside of PSG and Monaco and Lyon.
I think it would be a step up still.
Yeah, no, definitely step
Lopez,
up.
It wouldn't be the sexy choice, but I think I could see Marcos Lopez. He could be one of the better left backs in Liga MX, and I think Liga MX has been a good source of improvement and talent for Mexican players.
And Peruvian players.
Peruvian players. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
Pedro Gallesa, he was playing at like Veracruz, for example. When
Ruiz and Morelia.
Ruiz and Morelia. Now Mazatlan. That's when they broke through for the Peruvian national team.
Right.
So I think it's going to be interesting, like, to see where they go from here. But for now, they're players, and hopefully they'll be a good part of whatever success we can achieve.
The only Liga MX teams that I think will pay his price tag would be maybe Monterrey or maybe America, because America has Aquino. He's already a Peruvian national that plays for the team. So definitely, but they just got Layun. So I don't know if they want to pay. Maybe Monterrey, but their financial situation is not so hot. So, but I would see Marcos Lopez if he wants to go to Europe. I posted on Instagram a quote from him. I would say maybe this is escaping me right now. The La Liga maybe because Spanish players or Latin speaking players always want to play in La Liga. That's like their dream. The league where Ajax plays, I can't. This is skip Udinese.
Udinese.
No. The league where Ajax plays. What league is it?
Eredivisie.
Eredivisie. Thank you, Ivan. Yeah, I think you could be a good player in that league as well.
All right, and lastly, this was a late addition from Twitter. Terry Coding Mogan, our fantasy league
Scary Terry.
Expert extraordinaire. She asks two questions. Is it possible that we may break our own MLS record for most consecutive ties? And when can we safely put a Quakes player as a starter on our fantasy teams? I think we have to keep an eye on for if the U.S. men's national team realize the error in their ways and call up Kate Cowell for qualifiers. That might be a stretch because, it'll probably be some combination of the Gold Cup roster with our Nations League roster, and Kate Cowell still might be, pencil him in for the next World Cup cycle. Yeah. But I think he's probably your best bet for a consistent MLS fantasy player. Not Espinoza too. More help.
Espinoza has been getting quietly assists almost every game.
Yeah. And as for the MLS draw record, since I didn't have a chance to look up this record, I'm gonna say yes. Yeah, why not?
Why not?
That might be interesting.
Hey, if we get a draw in Seattle, are you happy, Ivan?
That would be the one team, even more so than against LAFC, that I'll be content with a draw because I'm expecting a loss in that game.
Yeah, right. But, right.
Thanks to our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Custom scarves for you and your team at roughneckscarves.com. If you're tired of the same old uniforms and cookie cutter templates from Nike and Adidas and looking for a unique, complete custom kit for your youth team, Sunday League squad, adult, or even pro team, Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at icarusfc.com. And I just want to close this podcast with a positive note. Favi, and fill in this sentence. Nathan is the most exciting Quakes signing since ... I
gotta say Vaco, to be honest. I was excited when Vaco came in. Because that was after Innocent Amagara, and we were like, oh, maybe this is the turn of the tide, right? So, but Nathan's a deep TAM signing, so it's even more impressive. I think, if Nathan, let's say Nathan plays like the best center back in the league, does Jesse Fioranelli get his job back? Right? It seems like a pretty knee-jerk reaction, but we didn't even get to see how this transfer gets played out. So definitely exciting time to be a Quakes fan if you like passing center backs that are good with their feet and passionate.
Yep. So the next 4 games to the Quakes, we got all 3 Cascadia teams, 2 away, 1 at home, and then we got LAFC. So those are our next opportunities to change this Draw SC Curse Club reputation for the better. But we'll see how it goes. Win, lose, or draw, go Quakes.
Go Quakes.